Hey, what's up, guys? This is Eric with another video recapping a game that I was sent by Tyler Waller. This is from the Nexus Season 2 Finals. The Nexus Season 3 Round 1 probably just finished as I was recording this video. So yeah, definitely check out Nexus. You can find them on Discord, or you can email Tyler Waller himself, and you can just let me know if you want that information, and maybe I can connect you guys. But in the meantime, I wanted to look at this game from last season's final, and I'm going to be moving my face right over here soon. Just wanted to give you a quick look at the info there, and also at a couple of the details around the press. So press was allowed during the build and retreat phases, and here we go with the players. But I'm not giving away the results of the game. I actually don't know the result of the game myself at this point. So that's going to be interesting, and I'm just going to do a quick analysis since I don't have access to the press, and that would be really cool. So in the future, when I look at games, I also want to look at the press because the diplomacy aspect, the negotiation, is really fascinating. How you make decisions given incomplete information is a huge part of diplomacy, whether you're playing face-to-face or online. So with that, we're going to jump into the game of the Nexus Season 2 Finals. And let's keep in mind that, again, press was allowed during build and retreat phases. So very interesting. That's something, if you're playing face-to-face, you generally have to negotiate prior to those phases. But let's also take a look at the powers playing each side. In case you happen to know those players, you can get a read going forward on how they play. Power 442 was Austria. Go Horns Go 1501 was playing, let's say, AEF was playing England. The Village Idiot was playing France. Super Wordy 6634 Germany. Jordan Connors would be Italy. Magnesium Fire Russia, and Umble the Heap following up with Turkey. So here we go. 1901. Let's do this. Thanks for joining. My name's Eric, and let's jump into this game. So right away, we open up with actually a quite interesting moves almost across the board, aside from Turkey and Germany. So and England. So let's take a look at it. England opens standardly with Yorkshire, can ensure they take Norway, and has plenty of options in terms of either convoying or actually making a play at Belgium as well. France opened a little cautiously from my point of view into Picardy and holding in Marseille. I think, though, the way this has turned out, they've given themselves the only chance of getting 3 builds up to 6 units. And let's see. From Germany's point of view, this is a pretty standard opening. I think it's out of the 1,000 German opens, it's the most common, or maybe the second or third most common. Lately, I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed playing Berlin to Munich here. I don't guarantee Holland in that case, but I like having that unit in Munich, and the unit in Ruhr then. It's defensive against France, and England can mess with me, but I like it. I saw that opening prescribed by Richard Sharp in the book he wrote in 1970, ages ago. Over here in the south, so Italy goes for the Tyrolean Tempest, and Austria, playing the Hedgehog, goes ahead and breaks that up. Does get into Galicia as well as Serbia, of course, and Russia is holding in Warsaw. That's a little strange. and a little strange also into Finland. At least what this suggests to Germany is that he's not going to mess with them and play into the Baltic instead of going for Sweden. So it's very pro-German from my immediate reaction. Now, the thing that I would question is even if you were pro-German, you might at least want to maintain that imbalance, but I don't know. It might be okay. I'm actually quite fond of interesting openings myself because they just create opportunities for negotiation, and they can sometimes throw off your opponents if you want to play antagonistically against them. So I don't mind it at all. Let's move on into the fall. Oh, and by the way, it's hard for me to criticize any of these moves because I haven't seen any of the press and the negotiation. And so, right away, I can see that just underneath my window there, it said that Turkey was a winner. Now, I do happen to know that games can end in a draw, so we are down to a possible Turkish solo or a possible draw that includes Turkey. So that's gonna bias the rest of this video. But a Turkish solo would be crazy. So my bet is probably on some kind of a draw that includes Turkey now. But let us continue because that's not all too uncommon in a game of diplomacy. Okay, so we are correct in this pro-German, and the German does allow Sweden in to Sweden, and the German also rightly retreats to Munich here, and so we can assume that something didn't feel right in the press, in the diplomacy, and he decided to go for the retreat. It turned out that England wanted to mess with him as well and deny him Holland. That is interesting because it's likely that although in this case Germany won't be able to build in Kiel, that he might have been in some trouble in Scandinavia if Russia and Germany were to team up there as a result of that early antagonism. So that could strategically work against England. That remains to be seen. And otherwise, Germany's got to be feeling pretty good that he was able to bounce the Italian army. Although overall, it's unclear unless he and France have can work together here in the near term. It's not necessarily looking so good for Germany right off the bat, but well defended nonetheless. France is going to pick up 3 centers. That's pretty amazing without any difficulty at all. Italy takes Tunis with the fleet. Didn't have the option to convoy at all, and slides up into Venice from Rome. And it seems like Italy and Austria were playing, decide to work things out after the spring because, work things out to some degree, in that the Austrian felt comfortable enough to go to Albania with the fleet, but did retreat to Vienna. Meanwhile, Italy opted, instead of going to Vienna, to go to Munich. And Russia then is able to get into Galicia, as well as Ukraine, bouncing with Turkey in the black. And no one makes the play for Greece. Serbia was going to Bulgaria. That would have broken that up. That would have left the Bulgarian army in Greece, and it would have left Bulgaria open, Khan being bounced by the Serbian move. So I actually like the play from the Turk there. That's the safest approach, and you don't really like to end up with Greece yet, with Greece, but having that split in your armies there, because you're going to then lose Greece in the spring of 02. So if I'm thinking about this and I've seen these moves, where do I want to build? I think let's go through each of the powers. As Turkey, the possible soloist here, I'm probably just gonna play very standardly and play and build a fleet in Smyrna. As Italy, I'm probably building a fleet in Naples. As Austria, I'm picking up one build, and I think I have to put it in Budapest. I have to have a good relationship with Italy going forward here. And otherwise I have Budapest open with the Russian army in Galicia and the Russian army in Romania. And with Budapest and Serbia, I at least have some negotiation ability there. There's 3 unfriendly armies in the neighborhood in Galicia, Romania, and Bulgaria. However, I have Budapest, Serbia, Albania myself. So there's a lot to play for yet. As Germany, what do you build? I mean, what happens if you build an army in Munich? What is your plan with that army? But it is the safest defensive play, because now I have Kiel, Ruhr, and Munich. I can probably get myself into Holland in spring or fall of 02, since Denmark can cut a support from the North Sea, for example, if the North Sea were supporting that French army somehow into Holland. So I'm going to then get to 5 next year. So I think that's pretty safe, and then I can see how things are looking in Scandinavia. I can see what France's builds are, because if France throws down a couple of armies, that could be a little bit troublesome for me as well. So I actually am persuading myself to build an army in Munich here, although I could see I could see a fleet in Berlin, although it would be a little weird. It would be a little weird, to be honest. But depending on how you negotiate it, I think you could make it work. You'd really have to. And they can negotiate in the build phase here. So, I would, as Germany, be pushing really hard for France to throw a couple of fleets on the board. Italy's, gone for it against me. Fair enough, but maybe I can get one fleet from France to annoy Italy as Germany. But maybe let's think about it from France's point of view. What does France want to build? I think obviously we have to build the army in Paris, but now we have a decision in both Brest and Marseille. What's your relationship with England? It looks like y'all haven't engaged at all, and you've successfully kept the English Channel unoccupied. So what am I going to do next? Well, I think England's gonna need to build a fleet in London. It's the most flexible. And so I think I want to have a fleet in Brest. I mean, an army's not doing much, is it? And then the question is what to do with Marseille. Do I build a fleet or an army? I think if my relationship is good with Italy, I'm just going to build an army. We already talked about Italy. We already talked about Austria. We already talked about Turkey. We talked about Germany. We talked about England. Russia. actually gets 2 builds here. Very interesting. Obviously, we'll be building an army in, well, actually, both Warsaw and Moscow are open in addition to St. Petersburg. I don't think that, given the friendliness Germany has shown, that we want to build on the south coast of St. Petersburg. I actually like not having to think too hard about that lower Scandinavian area as I work out the rest of the board. Like, if I've been able to negotiate a near-term peace with Germany, that is pretty good. We're probably going to get into it in the middle game. It's rare that we can avoid that. We can, but it's rare that for either Germany or Russia to win, that they won't get entangled. So I probably want to build an army in Moscow, which gives me a ton of flexibility. And maybe, depending on how I'm feeling about England, I may just throw down an army in St. Petersburg as well. A fleet on the north coast would also work. And if I'm working with Germany, I could ask him to cut north in the spring and slide my fleet into Norway unopposed, right? Because of the cut support from Denton north. So that's a clear plan, and maybe I just put that down on the board. Because now, as Russia, I have Norway and Sweden. Germany's on my side. I can say, look, you're good in Denmark. I'm gonna keep pushing against England. I can probably France is probably happy to get on board with that, and maybe, and to be fair, I mean, at the right moment, France could benefit more from that than I do as Russia. But if Italy is able to grow just enough, and if Germany can stay in the game, then that's going to be something that could hold back France from growing too quickly. So those are a couple things I'm thinking about with that Russian build. This is just how I think about the game. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's probably really wrong, to be honest, because it's hard to be right when you're playing with probabilities and so many different players, and you're not sure exactly what plans they feel good about vis-a-vis the plans that you feel good about. And sometimes you just have to go with a middle road kind of plan. What do I do with my second build? I guess I build in Warsaw or Moscow, but I think I want to build in Moscow and just show Germany, like, I'm not going to mess with him with some kind of like Warsaw to Prussia and Galicia to Silesia in the spring of 2002. All right, guys. Well, that's the first year of the game. And so let's come back in the next video and see what happens next. All right, take care.